action. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Alright. Here we are. Episode 2.
Episode 2 with a new temporary audio setup of a single lavalier
Temporary?
mic.
You don't like this? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have a mic
Alright.
clipped to a guitar stand because we've spent the past, 2 hours straight running around trying to figure out our mic issue. Cause
That's my bad.
it is what it is.
That's my bad.
Alright, so, In Rainbows.
Just tell me. Album sucks. I don't like it.
Well, I figured.
But I figured. What do you like?
In Rainbows. Alright,
Do you like it or what? Top 10 or what?
This is my 5th favorite album of all time.
For real?
This is an album that I will go. Anyone who asks me like, okay, what type of music do you listen to? Like, what should I recommend? What should I listen to? Every single time it's In Rainbows, and every single time without fail that I've done that, the person who's listened to it has not only liked it but grown to have it be one of their favorite albums.
Yeah, you've told me that before.
I've shown it to like 4 different people. All of them, it's like, wow, this is some of the most beautiful, some of the best music I've ever heard in my life. So, I love this album. I saw you kind of jamming out a little bit to a few of the songs.
No, there's one song that I like. I gave one song a 1.
God.
I gave one song a 1.
God.
I can see how people would like it though. I don't know if it's like an ego thing or like why I couldn't recommend this album. Like I feel like I could recommend this album to anybody and they would like it, but I'm not going to because I guess I could still do that. If I told somebody, hey, you should like this, you should check out this album. I don't like it, but you can still you still might like it.
So you get why people like it, but you don't like it.
Right. It lacks a lot for me. But
I kind of always knew that because based on what I know about Aaron, he doesn't like a lot of sad music. Oftentimes, like slow, sad, like kind of downtrodden, melancholy music. I've never heard you ever play that music in your car ever. So I kind of figured this was outside of your wheelhouse. And I
appreciate that I got to hear it though.
Okay.
And I did a lot of research,
right.
and it was interesting. It was interesting research.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently it was one of the first, at least major albums to be released as like a pay what you want download type of thing.
Really
which
cool.
There was a lot of criticism for that.
Which is so dumb.
There was also a lot of appreciation for it. You know, a lot of artists said, "Wow, I wish like I had that." You know,
balls.
Yeah, the balls to go and do that kind of thing, or now it's too late because you already did it. But a lot of people criticized it and said, "Oh, now other artists in the industry that are smaller aren't going to be able to like make money if you think that you can just like put this out. You're like destroying the industry." Obviously, this album came out when
2007.
2007. So obviously, the industry feels fine now. I mean, I'm not in the industry.
It's pretty horrible, but it's never. This album did not change how
streaming. Yeah, I don't think this album made much of an impact. Maybe I'm wrong, but streaming. I think the streaming industry changed it quite a bit. So I think it's pretty much irrelevant now that they did this, which was only like 7-8 years later that. Didn't matter, but there's a part 2 to this album,
which I've listened to. It is also good, and I've also rated it. It's not nearly
recommend
as good.
it or what? Not nearly as good. Okay.
No, but for those who really, really, really like this sound, it's kind of more the same. But a lot of this music seems like it was cut out of the part 1 because it doesn't fit the theme. A lot of this is more of like the Bodysnatchers variety, as opposed to like the Nude and the Reckoners and the House of Cards and all those.
Okay.
MK1 is cool. It's like this, almost like this ambient prelude to Videotape that leads right into other songs. There's a few songs that I like.
It's about 2 months. 2 months released cool. After. It was about 2 months after it got released.
Yeah.
So. Was it recorded at the same time? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just like the B-sides, like didn't make the cut.
Okay.
From the original album.
Yeah.
So should we get into the song for song?
Well, let's look at the track listing. What do we got on the track listing?
Okay, so we first start with 15 Steps. I didn't think you'd like that song. 15 Steps.
Okay. I'll tell you what I like in a sec.
So the reason that I say that is because there are some aspects of that song that I don't like. There's even a part of the song I think is a kind of a little bit cringy. So I tend not to like clapping beats. They seem too like poppy and superficial and kind of goofy. So I don't like the parts of the song that have the clapping beats. Also, like the children, like yay, the harmonious yay of the kids. That makes me cringe.
Well,
but when it gets into the song, once like the guitar starts, I do like that. I do like the song.
Well, the clapping is all like offbeat and like experimental, and they went to some music school in the UK, and just picked up audio recordings of a bunch of children clapping and mixed it together. And
okay, I didn't even know that.
They didn't like just the clapping. They said that's not enough, so they went back and got more chanting, which you just noted that you didn't like. So
yeah, the inclusion of children I'm not too big on.
I thought that like weird offbeat clapping was
okay.
Like that's the one thing that song had going for me. I liked that.
Okay.
It sounded, I don't know, it sounded like Flume's 2018 weird album. Just a bunch of weird, like glitchy offbeat.
Okay.
Percussion.
That's kind of more how I feel about Videotape, with how like distorted that song gets towards the end. But we'll get to that as we get to it. So, are we just gonna go down the list?
Yeah. What about Bodysnatchers? What's that?
So Bodysnatchers. Let's see. So that song, I don't. It was the last song that I liked on the album. So it's the song that took me the longest to like, because it doesn't. I like the quintessential In Rainbow sound of the beautiful guitar. You get the orchestral swelling and his soft, fragile sounding vocals. Like I find that all beautiful. Bodysnatchers is more so like this kind of out of place, like hard, like kind of raw rock song. And it's a good song. It's fine, but it doesn't fit like the In Rainbow's vibe for me. So it's always been kind of my least favorite, like an aside. But I do love the transition from the heaviest song right into Nude, which is like probably the slowest and most beautiful song on the album. Apparently, I was doing some research on the lyrics. That was kind of cool.
For Nude?
For Bodysnatchers.
Oh, Bodysnatchers.
Apparently, that whole term like body snatcher, he's pretty much. It's almost like a metaphor for feeling dead, like your body's been taken from you, because.
Right, that was kind of the general theme of the album.
Yeah. It was like he's not able. Oh, for sure. A lot of it's existential and like inner turmoil. But he was in this song. He was making a metaphor about feeling like a ghost because he can't show who he truly is to the world. He's not able to escape like the monotonous life that he lives. It makes him feel essentially dead.
Why don't the lyrics more convey like these kinds of...
No, it is pretty abstract.
That's the one thing. Like the lyrical content was like generically abstract. It's like just like I could, if there was an AI that could generate poems, and I just told it to like say some abstract stuff that sounded like it was relevant, like it would come up. I feel like it would come up with pretty similar. And then, like I was looking at the lyrics and I was like, how personal does this make me feel? I feel like it's too generic and abstract for me to personally,
Some songs I get that. Some of it is like I was reading The Genius, and like some of the lines people were trying to make sound all deep. Like it seemed like a stretch with a lot of it. It's like, okay, you probably did.
The songwriting isn't necessarily bad, but it's not personal enough for me.
Okay. But I guess I want to talk about All I Need because it's my favorite song on the album. But we'll go back down to.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I was not expecting that. So Nude is the most beautiful song on the album, in my opinion, by far. I love this song.
Well, can I make a comment on Bodysnatchers real quick?
Yes, go for it.
The attempt to like dirty up the guitar sound a little doesn't go far enough. I get that, like I get what they're kind of going for, and I almost feel like if they went far enough, like it still would have been bad, but it would have been a little bit better.
So it needed to sound worse to sound better.
Yeah, like they.
Okay.
It's like I don't know if they were like on a clean channel, and then like, all right, let's turn on a little bit of overdrive, or if they were on like a dirty channel and then tried to make it clean. But like if they just went all dirty, like I feel like it would have spoke to me a little more.
I know you like
but
punk,
but
crazy stuff.
Yeah, they tried to clean it up, and I was
well,
like,
I will say
don't clean it up.
For Radiohead's discography, I'd say Bodysnatchers is probably their most like just raw, like hard rock song since like their first album. So it really is like a totally different aside from Radiohead's normal discography.
Huh.
So it's not like their comfort zone to sound like that. So it's probably another reason I don't love that song is because that's not what they're good at. They're not good at the hard rock bangers. They're good at these.
I think yeah, I could kind of tell. I was like, this isn't
songs.
something. That's what I meant. Like they could have gone further, but I mean, yeah, it's definitely the only song on the album that sounds a little bit crunchier, a little bit more.
Totally, nothing else like that on this album.
Yeah, I mean, Nude though. I like the intro. I like the intro with the chanting.
It's gorgeous.
Or
the ooze.
Yeah, the humming.
So
I liked that. And then the way it all just stopped while the bass line picked in. The bass line was groovy.
The bass. It's slow.
The bass used to be different right before the album like was about to drop. They're like, now let's change it up or something, and they were like, okay, this is like reinterprets the whole song based on just what the bass guitarist did. Like, and they were all pretty stoked on how it turned out, so they said, let's go with this one.
I don't know. I'm not a musician, so I don't know the way that they play guitar. I don't know what it's called, but there's just something about the sound of the guitars all throughout this album. Just the way that it's played, like the speed and the way that they go through the strings. It just sounds so pretty. I love the guitar work on this album.
Yeah, the tempo's pretty slow on all the songs except for maybe Bodysnatchers and I mean, I don't know. I don't recall much guitar on 15 Step, but the tempo was like glitchy on that because
that
of
album
the
was kind
clapping.
of not album song.
That was an interesting song for sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting. Yeah, it's an odd one, I would say. But the lyrics too on Nude, they are pretty abstract, but I like how it sounds. I like what is being said. It sounds pretty. It's
right, isn't
cool.
it like it's probably their most popular song on the album, right?
I would not be surprised.
I know it came out as a single. It was a single that like headlined the album before the album dropped. There's one or two other ones.
And another part with this song, after the lyrics are done, you have like the orchestra start to swell and get louder. So pretty, dude. I love the incorporation of orchestra as well. Like the orchestra in harmony with the guitars and his vocals.
It's a night.
So pretty.
It's a nighttime driving by yourself type of album for sure.
So good. Either that or like laid back like summer cruising, because you have songs like 15 Step. You just kind of chilling, good vibes in the car. It's summer. That type of thing. House of Cards too.
House of Cards. Yeah. That is the perfect. That's the song that made me zone out. I was talking to you like there's two types of listening, like conscious and unconscious, and like when there's not enough happening, it goes into almost an unconscious. But that's not a bad thing because the unconscious listening, like that music still is influencing like the way you're thinking, even when you're unconsciously listening to it. And so that album was like, if I was to get intrapersonal about myself and like how I think, that song did it for me when I was just driving at night from home and I was listening to it. And I kind of zoned out and I kind of just was reflecting, introspective, which I think is a healthy state of mind. And that's the one song that did it. So
yeah, I do love that song as well. Weird Fishes. I saw you kind of jam into that. You were bumping to that song.
I can jam to anything.
What?
I don't hate it. It's not like a negative two.
What about that song?
When he spits the chorus, when he just said weird fishes, yeah, and I'm like, what are you saying?
That is a metaphor that I could actually explain.
I assumed most of their lyric was metaphorical, but none of it was personal enough. Like
so, yeah, it's all ocean.
He's like encrypted with.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool. You don't want just literally him to say, "I feel bad because this happened."
No, that's too.
The poetry makes it interesting.
Yeah. The songwriting and the poetry is good, but the word choice and stuff, I was like, this is too cryptic for me. Like I can't pick up anything for me to interpret. Even if they're trying to say something for them, good for them. That's a good way to make music. Make it for yourself. But for me as a listener, I can't connect to it.
I guess, yeah. For me, like I kind of feel the metaphor of like feeling like a worm stuck on the end of a hook. It's like you're just getting taken apart. There's nothing you can do.
It's a lot of
I like that feeling. Like I don't have that feeling, but when I listen to how he says the song or how he says the words and what he's saying, like I can envision like how he feels in this metaphor that he's creating. I like
fair enough. See, I never had that
paints.
Experience.
Okay, and I do like the image that
if you knew the metaphor, you could relate to them a little more. Which I don't know. There's two ways to make music, and I think for this album, I wish it would have been a little more personal. A little bit. I don't know what the word is. A little bit more
direct?
Communicative.
Okay.
With other people.
You don't like the guitar work on Weird Fishes? How it sounds like there's
I
like
do. That's the one thing I do kind of like.
Towards
That's
the
the
end
one
that
thing
are
I
just,
do
like,
kind of like. Yeah.
But
it is a slower. It's a slower song like the rest of the album. Bodysnatchers is definitely like the one that.
I'd say Bodysnatchers and
almost feels like an outcast on the album.
Bodysnatchers and Jigsaw Falling Into Place are the two most upbeat or most quick tempo songs.
Right.
Right.
Right. Jigsaw Falling Into Beat got groovy at one point. I do remember that. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, All I Need. That is the best song of the album in my opinion because
I agree.
Because it meshes the really beautiful slow parts of songs like Nude and Reckoner, and it also has kind of that darkness of Videotape, especially lyrically. Very dark song lyrically. But it also has more of the energy from a song like Jigsaw Falling Into Place, especially towards the end. It all builds up into this large, bombastic final part where he's kind of like screaming, like
that's the end of the first half of the album, right? Like that's where you would flip the record. That's track 5, right?
Because this is 2007, so
right, but it's track 5, which is out of 10 tracks. I would imagine that's about the point that you'd flip the record.
Yeah, because
does it
Faust
lead
Arp,
into?
it does not lead into Faust Arp.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably the point that you would flip the record.
It's like, and the lyrics too. I love the lyrics on this song. Thankfully, I don't relate to it, but it's such an interesting perspective because he's pretty much literally talking about being like a stalker. He's so obsessed with this woman that he's like in the background of her photos, and he feels like a
yeah. See, I didn't catch that. How do you know about all this lyrical?
Well,
these metaphors, just knowing and like having background on the album.
There's two things. One, I'll just read the lyrics straight up, and then second, if I don't get it, I'll go to Genius. And not only will I read what the annotation is, but I'll read the comments on the annotation. Because a lot of times people are like, okay, that's not what that means at all. This is what it means. And whatever one makes the most sense.
Like you interpret it how you want.
Yeah,
that's
but
why I like how artists.
I would say this song is pretty obvious. Like a song like Weird Fishes, no. That one I was kind of like, okay, I need
right. This one, yeah.
But he's like, he's saying
this one is
he's in the middle of your picture, lying in the reeds. That's creepy. I like that. He's like, he feels like a bug trying to get close to. She's like the light. He's like obsessed trying to get close to her. It's like freaky like that. I like.
Hey, we all get a little freaky.
I like how he's able to talk from a perspective that you don't usually hear in songs. Usually, or any form of media. Anytime you hear about stalkers, it's from the perspective of they are the bad guy and you're usually the protagonist, like dealing with the stalker. But no, he is the stalker.
Oh, I thought you said soccer.
No,
like
stalker.
Sport.
No, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
You never hear it from the perspective of the deranged stalker.
Right. And that is interesting.
And when he's going at the end, when it starts to build up and he's saying it's all wrong, I think it's like he's starting to like collapse under these emotions of realizing what he's doing is wrong, but he's trying to justify that it's right. And he's kind of like yelling out these last lines, and the instrumentation's getting all crazy and louder. It's a very emotional part of the song. I freaking love
that's like
song.
Some Jungian. That's me. Like, to me, this is like some Jungian verse. It's like, I don't know. Jungian psychology is all about embracing your shadow, and not running away from it, and like even when you know something's wrong, like don't put yourself down and be like, okay, I'm like a piece of shit.
It sounds like he's fighting between
this is more like
two.
This is who I am. Like accept it and
he's
work with it and to progress into a better state instead of just running from it.
Yeah.
So it sounds Jungian. This outro verse sounds Jungian for sure.
Mm-hmm. Especially because the last words are "it's all right."
Exactly. To me, it's like he's
So he's trying to justify.
He's saying it's wrong. It's wrong, but like, I'll give it a hug. I'll give my shadow a hug.
Oh man, yeah, I love this song, and even the name "All I Need," like that. You're all I need. You think it sounds like a love song because he's talking about, "Oh, you're all I need." Typically, that'd be kind of wholesome and romantic.
Right, but
no,
he's leaving
like
literally
obsessed.
need. Yeah.
Like, yeah. I love
I
that.
just
That's
like the
such an
synth.
interesting perspective. Yeah,
It's all deep and bassy.
Dude,
that song.
so
I'd say this is
cool.
the best song on the album for
I
sure.
agree. And then we have little short Faust Arp.
I hated that. I didn't hate it.
I didn't think you would like that.
I didn't like it.
Cade dislikes that song a lot. He finds the vocals kind of pretentious. I don't have a problem. It's such a short song. It doesn't. It's fine.
Yeah,
it sounds fine.
I think that's the only reason I'm okay with it. I'm like, all right, just get it over with.
Right. I mean, and there's good orchestral work on that song too. It's kind of just like the good old in Rainbow's formula. You have his pretty vocals. You have a little bit of nice guitar work. Although this time it's acoustic. And then you got an orchestra as well. So it's kind of the basic formula and a bit of a shorter cycle. And the lyrics are way too abstract on this song. I have no idea what he's talking about at all. So maybe there's some cool inner meaning in that song and that would make me love it. But for now, I just like it.
See, I don't like that. I'd rather...
It's cool,
I need to be able to connect with it.
Yeah.
Visual abstraction is different. A lot of math can get visually abstract, and that's interesting. Because you can still connect with visual stuff, but when it's just words and then something's being communicated and it's abstract, that's when it's harder for me to personalize with and identify with, and that's when I'm like, okay, stop. Just stop. I mean, or no, I guess you can put out your music. I was going to say, or just keep it to yourself. Keep your music to yourself.
Yeah.
Or I guess some audience members just can choose not to listen to it. I guess that's the simplest, but yeah, I like stuff I can connect to, so.
And then we move on to Reckoner, another really good song.
Most forgettable song for me.
Wow, that's another
This is that part of the album. This is that part of the album that gets into like slower tempos. The next three songs, Reckoner, House of Cards, and
Jigsaw.
Not Jigsaw. What's the other one? Go back to the track listing.
Well, it's gonna be my score as well.
We'll just go to the Wikipedia page real quick.
It's Faust Arp.
Okay, yeah, it was just Faust Arp, Reckoner, and House of Cards.
But
Yeah,
they were so
House
good.
of Cards was a little different just because it more promoted like introspection for unconscious listening.
I actually like Reckoner more than House of Cards.
I don't.
I do love.
I think
both
Reckoner
songs.
was my least favorite song on the album.
How more than Faust Arp?
It was just.
Faust Arp is just the worst.
It didn't
song.
have enough going on to grab my attention. I was like, this is just like a slagging add-on to the.
I think his voice. It is the best song vocally on the album. The way he says Reckoner and he holds that note, it's gorgeous. And there's like,
I'll tell you what, I'll do you a solid. I'll take another listen at some point. I'll go into it with your perspective. And I'll give it another shot.
Fully flesh out my perspective. So
okay, go for it.
With that song,
hurry up.
I like.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I feel like the drums are kind of like jangly. They almost give me like the drums and guitar almost sound like kind of like a jangle pop sound, which is something you'd hear in like the Smiths, which is interesting. It's just like it has this really cool, interesting sound. The guitar work almost sounds. This song also gives me kind of summer vibes. The guitar sounds almost surf rocky or like beat like. Think of like the 311s of the world, like those types of like surfer from the early 2000s type of rock.
You talking about 7-Eleven?
311, the band.
I heard 311.
Okay, well, that type of like summery, surfy, like California surfer type rock. Oh, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Okay, there we go.
Say this band reminds me a lot of.
Okay, there we go. That's
I don't know why, but
something about the guitar work on that song reminds me of like that kind of like California summer surfy rock.
I haven't listened to them in probably over 8 years.
And I love that style of guitar on such a like beautiful song. Usually you hear that on more of like an upbeat rock song, but this is more drawn out and beautiful. Once again, his vocal work, his singing on this album's probably my favorite on the entire album. His singing on this song is my favorite on the entire album. And I don't know. There's not much more I can. I don't know how to make you like a song like this because it's not your type of music.
This song means a lot to you, though, right?
It is a favorite. It is one of my favorite songs of all time. I'd also say once again The orchestral work towards the end, really beautiful. After, in the final line, the orchestra is really good. There's like an echoey choral vocals where they all kind of, I don't remember what they're saying or how it sounds right now, but there's some beautiful choral vocals between the group that combined with that surf style guitar and the jangly drums and the orchestra. It's just like such a beautiful piece of music. I don't know. You'll just have to listen to it.
See,
The thing is, I like
it all
slow
just
music.
faded back for
That's
me.
the thing, because I really like slow music. This is like my jam. You like more upbeat. So
I will wake up and the first thing I'll put on is like glitchy shit that just screams into my ear, and I'm like, all right.
For
this
me,
is good.
when I could listen to a slow song and pick apart there's like, it's just enough going on to where you can like pick it apart and like really see and take in everything that's happening, like all these little details.
Yeah, I guess
Whereas
it's
when
not
you're
like
just getting
too complex,
bombarded
yeah.
with so much crap, you're like, this is just
some
lot
overstimulation.
which is also cool. I mean, I like really complex. I like when there's a lot of layers going on, but slow music like this can also have a lot of layers. Like you have a
For
lot
sure,
of
and
things going on.
they
in
use
this
some
album.
weird instruments on this album, some weird French piano type thing, but it's got like a string that you'll slide, and it almost sounds like orchestra just by like the way
maybe that's what the
it very well could be, but I don't know. I don't recall them actually using orchestras, but they did use this one weird instrument.
that probably is what it is. Just like
So it's some French name. I'm not
in
gonna
the
remember
'60s,
it,
there were a lot of bands that just use like a mellotron, and you play it and hold the note, and it sounds like this big old swelling orchestra as well.
Right.
Like King Crimson's first album, they have a lot of that, and it sounds like an orchestra is playing, but it's really just a dude, some dork, holding down a note on his keyboard.
Yeah.
Love that album though. We'll have to get to that someday.
Oh, we will.
All right, now on to House of Cards.
You missed Jigsaw, right?
No, that's after.
Oh, okay.
So I like House of Cards as well.
I already said
I love that song.
It's introspective.
The only part I don't really like is the electronic sound of the drums. I prefer. It's like it kind of has the same style of drumming as 15 Step, in how it sounds kind of electronic.
It was.
I prefer the more jangly.
Well, the album was described as electronic.
Yeah, this is coming off of. I don't remember the album before this, but I mean, a couple albums before it was Kid A, and that's almost purely like electronic experimental rock.
Okay.
That is their most avant-garde.
Well,
by far,
that was also their last album with their record label. This was all like a self-release, no record label.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and they couldn't get through it at first. They were like, "Okay, there's no deadline. We don't need anything to do," and they had a hard time.
I'm glad they took their freaking time.
Find inspiration to figure it out.
Gorgeous.
They did, yeah, over 2 years. So.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm kind of starting to say the same things over and over again because this album is a very cohesive experience.
It is, yeah.
So if you don't like the sound, like if you're past All I Need and you like, okay, this sucks, you're not gonna grow to like it.
I would say go at least throw in. Oh no, you said All I Need.
Yeah,
I thought you said
like, 15 do the first
step.
half of the album.
I would say 15 Step, All I Need, and maybe House of Cards.
If you're listening
like
to the first step of the album and you're like, okay, I don't like
describe
this,
it pretty well.
It's not going to change.
Yeah.
You're not going to change your mind because it is pretty cohesive. Once again, it's kind of a melancholy.
But if you
slower,
like that sound,
song.
it's going on for 45 minutes or whatever. So
if you like the song like me, if you like that sound like me and all the other people I've recommended it to, then you are going to love this album. It is gorgeous. But he did not. So if it's all of a similar,
I'm a little critical. So
a little.
What do we got after Jigsaw?
So Jigsaw, I will have to say I do like that song because
it was groovy.
Yeah, it's a little more upbeat. It's another one of those songs that took me a little longer to like. I wouldn't say it's as good as House of Cards or the slower, more beautiful songs before it, other than like Faust Arp. But it is a cool kind of middle ground almost between Bodysnatchers and the other slow songs. Instead of All I Need, which is like half slow and half upbeat, or not upbeat, but loud, this is like kind of in the middle the whole way through. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I like it. It is a good song. But it's not one of my absolute favorites, that's not saying that much because I love almost every song on this album. So not one of my favorites doesn't mean I dislike it. It just means I don't love it as much as the other songs on the album. And I remember his vocal work towards the end being really very pleasing as well, as it almost always is. The outros to all of these songs are good. I can't think of any exceptions. So last track.
I got a cool story about the last track.
Last track is a very interesting track.
So I found it by some YouTuber that had mixed it or edited it in some way and made it way more compressed on the vocals. And when I first heard it, I heard it through that.
Oh, you've heard this song before?
No. The first time I heard about this album was from you, but last night when I was listening to Videotape, the 10th track, I found it on some YouTube channel that had compressed the vocals. I don't know if it happened naturally or on purpose, but it sounded awesome with the compressed vocals. It was like the volume was way lower and like it was like almost more robotic, and I was like, holy sh! I was like, this fucking album this song is kind of sick. And
I
found the actual Radiohead, and I was like, oh, they ruined it. I had it rated higher, and I dropped it once I heard the actual one. I was like, no.
I like this song. It's really cool. This one is more unique than the other ones that are kind of more of a your blend of guitar and orchestra.
This is like a personal note from the singer, isn't it?
I don't know. I just know
it's like almost like a suicide.
Yeah, it's kind of like
like if I die, this is the last thing I want people to.
The way I saw people interpreting it was either like all of the recordings of his life like existing beyond him, or it's him in his final day, like seeing his life happen over again, like the flash,
something like that.
You know how when you almost die, people say your life flashed before your eyes. It's like him describing that almost like a videotape of his life during his last day. So it's a very dark song. It just starts with a piano note on repetition. It never stops throughout the whole song, but as the song progresses, more things start happening. Like a delayed drum starts to happen, and you start getting all these weird sounds that kind of distort the piano, distort the drums, and it starts getting more delayed. The drumming gets more delayed and echoey.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's called it was a syncopated beat.
Right.
Which a lot of people actually look at this song from like a art critic perspective. It's like one of those. This song oftentimes is in like a music class in the same way that like that revered movie from the 40s, like a Citizen Kane would be in a movie class, because apparently it is really like artsy, complex kind of music nerd type of thing with that syncopated beat, and it's a good example of that. So there's a lot of YouTube videos and articles on this song, and it's like hidden beat and hidden meanings and hidden sounds. So this song is actually really well respected in the music community, and I understand why. It's really cool. You'll just have to listen to it yourself, but you'll see it's going to start off relatively bland and dark and drab, slow, but it's just going to slowly glitch out and get weirder and more abstract over time. And by the end of it, it's a very unique listening experience. It almost kind of reminds me of what's that one Dementia song or series of songs?
Everything Everywhere at the
it almost reminds me of that, how it starts off kind of crispy and normal, and then by the end of it sounds all like distorted and odd and strange. It's not too, like, I wouldn't call it avant-garde or anything, but it is interesting. It is a unique listen, and it is a good way to end an album. I think it's a really cool closing track. Had they ended it with like...
Yeah, I think it was a good closer for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other song on this that could have been as good of a closer.
I think a lot of people revere it for that reason. I was reading the YouTube comments when I was watching it last night, and a lot of people were like, perfect ending to the album.
Really cool.
What does it show for genres on the Wikipedia page?
For genres, it shows...
What do I agree with and what do I think is bullshit?
Art rock, obviously.
I agree.
Alternative rock doesn't mean anything. That's a stupid genre nonsense.
No, I see it as 2000s alternative.
Yeah, like Nickelback.
For sure.
Nickelback is
I think it's closer to Nickelback than a lot of other artists.
Yeah, than it is to...
I think it reminds me a lot of U2,
Whoa!
Nickelback.
Whoa!
The producer who worked on it also works with U2.
Well, U2's 80s, first of all.
Well, he worked with U2. Let me see if I can pull up his name. What's his? Because it was the Nigel guy.
Well, yeah.
They worked with two. They tried to work with one. Then they it was their old one. They were like, no, we don't want to work with you. They picked up another one. That didn't work, so they got back with their first one. And then he basically was like 2 years. They haven't accomplished anything. He kicked him in the ass and said, "You guys got to get your shit together." And then he forced him into this. But
then we also have experimental rock, which I agree. It is an experimental album.
Yeah, I thought it was a
Videotape
little
is experimental. Faust Arp is experimental.
Mm-hmm.
Art pop, I mean, same thing as art rock. And then electronica, that maybe is a little bit of a stretch. There's electronic elements.
Right.
Isn't that what electronica is?
I thought that was a little bit of a stretch, too.
It's a broad group
art
of
pop,
electronic.
art rock,
Okay.
alt rock, and experimental rock. It all makes sense.
I would also add orchestral rock to this 100%.
I definitely think that there's stuff missing. There's stuff missing from other albums I've seen.
There's kind of like a jangly feel to it as well. I see some correlations in a song like This Charming Man, the guitar work, the way it sounds.
Right.
Obviously way more down tempo. But I see some correlations between some of the Smiths and their jangly style of guitar and drumming and then this album here. It's almost like if the Smiths' sound was as depressing as the lyrics that Morrissey wrote. It's almost kind of like that, but obviously in a modern or a more modern context.
Click the producer, Nigel Godrich.
Uh-huh.
Look at this. Zoom in a little here. U2, Beck, producer that worked with Beck, U2, Roger Waters, Paul McCartney even.
Okay, so he kind of just works with everyone. He's not like the U2 guy. Okay.
I don't know. Okay, no, he's worked with a few guys, but I thought that was interesting. Where did you first hear about this album?
Okay, so I don't remember how, but first song I heard was Weird Fishes. I think it was just
by Radio Fish or on this. Yeah, by Radio Fish or on this album alone.
I don't recall. I remember it was
okay,
in a
so
playlist.
It must have been a while ago or what?
2018.
Okay.
I've known this album since 2018.
5 years ago?
Yes. So in 2018, I heard that song. I liked it. I had it in my playlist. I'm like, oh, that's a cool song. And then I watched Anthony Fantano's Radiohead Worst the Best. I'm like, okay, I like that song. I wonder what else Radiohead has up in store.
Well, now we got to link Anthony Fantano.
That's fine.
And just get we'll link Anthony Fantano.
And then
might as well, right?
So I watched that video and I heard him say that he put in Rainbow's second best, but he said that it was his personal favorite. So he likes the sound of it better, but in his like worst the best, he also incorporates like how important the album was to the discography of the band. And in which case,
is it not their most
OK Computer
album?
by far.
Okay.
So he put OK Computer in first, even though he likes In Rainbows better. I disagree. I think In Rainbows is the better album.
It's like Wish You Were Here versus Dark Side of the Moon. Dark Side of the Moon was more important.
And better.
And better. So what am I saying? I don't know what
the
I'm
wall,
saying.
The wall. Wish You Were Here is better than The Wall.
So bad.
I'm not going to say my opinion on The Wall because that's going to be. Oh, I just bumped the mic a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Looks the same.
Okay.
All right. So what was I saying? What happened? Oh yeah. So
I completely forgot.
So he's talking about it. It sounded engaging the way he was describing the album. So I gave her a swaller, and I freaking loved it. Okay. I loved it. During this era, I was listening to a lot of slower music. Yeah.
Okay.
I was either listening to kind of like Radio Mirror Park style, like indie electronic, or I was listening to like slow rock. It's also where I found bands like Bark Psychosis, which we'll absolutely get into. My favorite underground artist of all time. And other like more ambient, beautiful music like that. So this album came in at the perfect time. Amazing album. 5th favorite album of all time.
5th favorite.
It hopped up 6 positions during my review because I grew to like Bodysnatchers and I grew to love Jigsaw falling into place. The only upward movement, I'm just going to show the points at this point. The only upward movement I could see at this point is I could see House of Cards becoming a favorite. Maybe even videotape, but it is a bit too stripped back for me to like really love it. Whereas the other songs have that more gorgeous, rich, texturally interesting sound. So let's see your Godforsaken.
All right, so
-32.
Hey, that's close to all right? That's around the zeros. That's like it's okay.
Dude, I've never listened to an album that I've rated that low ever. I like Drake's album better than that.
Well, let me go through. So 15 Step I was like, okay. It was okay. I liked the percussion. Bodysnatchers, I was pissed because they didn't go far enough with the guitar. Nude.
How could you zero
Nude? I was like, it's okay.
How could you zero? Like, does the beautiful sound not like touch your soul?
Beautiful sounds go further than that.
Like, you're showing me the Black Dice song. And you
I don't
like
think that that's beautiful.
It's not beautiful, but
Animal Collective is beautiful. This is nowhere near Animal Collective.
bro. Okay, to be fair, I've only heard the Daft Punk song in the Daily Routine.
Dude, Sung Tongs. Oh, okay.
No.
Anyways, Weird Fishes. I was pissed.
How is that a -1?
I was just
'cause
pissed
the
when
lyrics?
like the way he. It's not the lyrical content necessarily,
Just
but the
didn't
way
like
he
his-
sings the lyrics.
I
was
like
like,
it.
dude,
He sounds
stop with
almost
that.
like it sounds like kind of Disturbed. He's not like singing it beautifully. It almost sounds kind of off kilter the way he's saying the words.
Yeah, I can't relate with the disturbed feeling that one gets though.
Okay.
The singer
All I
has.
need is a +1.
I was like, I like this song. I like this song.
I'll take it.
I like this song. Faust Arp again. I was like, it's okay. And then all these slow ones. I gave
-1.
I gave House of Cards a 1 as well. Because
Whoa! What is 7? Reckoner -1.
yeah, like I told you, it was my most forgettable.
Forgettable means 0 because it's just mids.
Well, I don't. Well, what I mean by forgettable is I forget why I ranked it a -1. Like,
no.
I remember listening to it and being like, all right, I don't like this song. -1. It's not like I skipped it though. I didn't skip it. I had listened to it.
I mean,
I don't remember. This is the one song I don't remember.
I almost want to play it,
But I
we'll get
remember
copyright
negative.
claim.
Yeah.
Should we play it and cut this part out? I'm gonna play it. We'll cut this part out just so he can know what he's talking about here. Okay. Now we're back in. So what are you saying?
It was like that guitar part.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, there's
So-
nothing going on here.
That's what is good.
I like simple stuff, but not when it's done.
That's
like
what I
this.
mean. It sounds jangly and like.
It's like,
so
would you like a simple
pretty.
cake? Like if I baked you a
my-
cake
it's
with
not
nothing
simple,
on
though.
it.
You have.
There's
that
some
kind
bread.
No.
There you go.
No.
It's like
no,
that.
No.
When
no,
you can
no,
be
no.
simple,
No,
it's
that's
okay.
like
Let me
saying-
bake you a pumpkin pie. That's
No,
perfect
no,
when it's just
no.
simple pumpkin pie.
That's like saying like Robert Eno or Brian Eno. It's like his music's just simple. I don't like it. It's not simple. It's quiet, but there's a lot of work that goes into making music like that.
Right, and I recognize that this took a lot of work.
It's like
it took them 2
Blackbird by the
years.
Beatles is just a dork on an acoustic guitar and
Yeah, I
singing.
mean, I like that song
beautiful.
though. I like that song.
That's what I'm saying. There's way less effort in that song than this song.
It's not the effort it's the relativeness. How much can I relate? How much does this music inspire me to recognize myself?
Yeah, he's told me that he tends to not like any music that he couldn't see himself either making or being a part of the creative process.
Right.
And I could not see this dude anywhere involved in radio.
Any music that I can't see myself making or being a part of, I'm like, I'll listen to it, and then when somebody throws it on, it's fine. I'll be like, I'm not gonna talk shit.
House of Cards. So this okay.
House of Cards, I give a +1 just because it inspired that.
Jigsaw's a -1 and Videotape's a -1.
Yeah, I was like, these are overdone.
Videotape is not overdone. It's just a piano. Literally, it's the most stripped back song in the whole
Jigsaw
album.
was overdone, but
okay, whatever.
But Videotape, I can see maybe.
You don't. I thought you would like how that song gets all.
Okay, I can see maybe
ripped apart
these.
by the
I
end
can
of
see
it.
maybe Reckoner, Jigsaw, and Videotape going to a 0.
Okay, let's see what would the score be if that happened. It'd probably be like a -3 still. It'd be
It'd be exactly a 0.
Wow.
So,
okay.
and well, here's the thing. On my Excel file, I've hit this round function, so I don't know if it's -0.01 or +0.01, but it'd be about a complete 0. And which I agree. I almost agree with. I'm a little bit more towards like I don't want to hear this.
Okay.
Then I'm okay hearing this. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what a 0 signifies. Is like
I was having a slight bit of hope when I saw you jamming to Weird Fishes, but no.
I can jam to anything. I can jam
you couldn't
to the
jam
worst.
to that Hollywood Undead song.
I was jamming to the 3rd track.
You were trying. It wasn't happening.
We'll do a Hollywood Undead.
Oh God. Okay. That's.
It's not my cup of tea, you know.
I know,
I
but
just
does
played
that
a
mean
Black
it's
Dice
bad?
song for you earlier, and you were like,
but
what
that
the
would
hell
not
is
be a
this?
-32. No way I'd rate music. Like, I would have to. I don't.
That would be like that Black Dice album. If that 5 minutes was an album, that'd be like a 2.95 for me. I'd be like, this is awesome. And
So
it's the simplest, like, just
rated
weirdest
album
noises.
I've ever rated was Yes's newest album. It's horrible. It's just mediocre garbage.
I'm critical. You know this. I'm critical.
Say, yeah, then you can't be the guy who says, I kind of like everything.
No, it's not that I like everything. It's that I'll groove to anything. Depends on the setting, I guess. If I'm listening to it myself, I'm not grooving to it. But if I'm setting up audio equipment and whatever, then I'll groove to it while it's playing. If I'm in the car with a couple of buddies and we just got back from Top Golf or whatever, I'll groove to it. Right, so
negative 32. So that it is. If your slide was in my slide, it'd be the worst album on the entire list of 200
I'm going to have
albums.
plenty of negatives. I'm going to have plenty of positives. That's how it's going to be. I definitely like Yes and King Crimson more than this album.
What?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
It's just the sad boy, beautiful. I
yeah,
don't
it's too
see
cohesive. It's too
that.
cohesive.
That's
you said
true
at the beginning of the video, it's too cohesive. You can hear
I didn't say
songs.
too cohesive because it's
well,
it
you said
sounds
it's
amazing.
cohesive, yeah.
It's like Bark Psychosis' Hex. It all sounds this type of like gothic, gothic post rock,
Right.
but I like that sound. So it's that sound for the whole album. I love that sound. Therefore, it's going to get an amazing score. We have to get into this album soon. It's my
In Rainbows, we just got into this album.
Hex.
Yeah, we will. We'll get into anything.
So, wow,
That's what I got.
Worse than Prague, huh? And you hate Prague.
I don't hate Prague. Prague I dislike. I don't have anything on here that's lower than a -1, so it's nothing on here that I hate.
3 albums? Okay.
There's nothing that I hate.
Okay.
There's just a couple like I don't like this.
Oh, so you consider negative 32 not...
It's close to okay. It's close to 0. Right?
So you
It's
consider
close
the
to,
album more okay than dislikable?
Yeah.
Because it's 32.
It's closer to 0 than it is to -100.
Okay, that's better.
So it's closer to okay.
Okay, so it's an okay album to Aaron. Leaning negative. For me, it's one of the best albums of all time. So
right, and that's what's great about the dynamic here is we'll go across everything.
Okay.
Uh,
all right. Well, I will say I'm a bit more passive, but if this was flipped scripts
I'm critical.
and I gave your album that you loved a negative 32, you would be pissed.
I'd be freaking.
Imagine if I gave Ram a negative 32.
Well,
that would be the last episode of the show.
It depends on with respect to what's the other one, Discovery. If that was also negative 32 or close, I would have been like, all right, it's not his cup of tea. But if they were both, if one was 100 and one was a negative 32, I'd be losing my fucking shit, bro. I'd be losing it.
I'm internally losing it, but what can I say? What can I do? Oh God. Okay, everyone. Listen to this album if you like beautiful.
I would recommend
slow.
it, like I said, to most anybody.
True. If you're not into slow music, skip. If you're not into like kind of downtrodden music, skip. But if you like, it's like beautiful it's like sad, beautiful in the same way that like a gloomy day can be just gorgeous.
A lot of comments
kind
on
of
YouTube
like that.
were saying similar stuff.
Yeah, it's like how you look outside of the window on a rainy day and it's almost more gorgeous than a perfectly sunny day sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that as an album, although it has some of that like beautiful rays of sunshine feel to it as well with the jangly guitar work.
If it had more like a stabbing motion. If it had more of like a
his heavenly like vocals too. That's another thing I could find some people disliking, is they could find it kind of annoying how high pitched his register gets at times.
He was saying he didn't like to sing that high.
I love when he sings.
But he said,
that
yeah,
high,
it sounds
dude.
good.
It's so beautiful.
He was like, it sounds feminist, but I like it.
Yeah, keep on squeezing those nuts, Tom. Don't ever go to a low register. You rocking and rolling. I hope to see another Radiohead album soon. They did make one not too long ago, given they're a 90s band, so they're not defunct. And I hope they could make something as gorgeous or even close to as gorgeous as this album. Their last album was pretty good, but
nah, older bands never make good shit.
I mean, usually yes, but there are some exceptions. Like Pink Floyd's newest album.
Oh, I love that album.
No.
Don't listen to that.
No, listen to this. Don't listen to that.
Listen to this before you listen to that.
Yeah. I would say just listen to this, period.
Alright.
Period. Alright, so, oh god. I guess that's episode 2. I need to rethink. I need to think about
I need to go
things.
home and rethink.